This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, now let's look at this one, please. What I'm trying to say that after installation, this kind of ready-made site we get it. So that means after installation, we will get this ready to use site. And also after installation, we get a tool that is nothing but HAC, Hybris Administrative Console. After installation, we get a tool called HAC, Hybris Administrative Console. What is the URL for HAC? The URL for HAC is localhost 9002. This is the URL, and you can use admin as a username and password is admin1234, which we have given during the installation. So let me try to log in with that. I logged in. Okay, now you can see there is an option called, so here we have an option called initialization and update. Let's see what is the difference between initialization and update, when to use initialization, when to use update. So the focus is to discuss what is initialization, what is update, and when to use initialization, when to use update, and so on. So to understand what is the initialization, what is the update, let's come back to one step. I told you after installation, this kind of ready-made site we get it. And I am able to see the results of this site because lots of tables are created behind. I am able to see the results of this site because lots of tables are created behind. So what I'm trying to say that after installation, okay, after installation, this kind of ready-made site we are getting. So please see the statements what I am typing here. So after installation, we get this site and we are able to see the results of this site because there are lots of supporting tables created behind. Okay, we are able to see the results of this site because lots of tables. When I say lots of tables, what are the tables? Cart table, order table, user table, product table, like that. Because lots of tables are created behind. Now the question is, did we create those tables? Did we create those tables, or did we create those? Did we create or did we do the design for those tables? Answer is no. Then what? Answer is no. Then what? So right now we are using SAP Commerce, right? SAP Commerce by default provides the tables. SAP Commerce by default providing these tables. Now SAP Commerce by default providing means where can we see those tables design or code? Where can we see those tables design or code? What is the answer here? I said SAP Commerce is providing tables design or code. Where can we see those? See those? The answer is asterisk hyphen items.xml. Asterisk hyphen items.xml. You can see, so there is a core item.xml, there is a catalog hyphen item.xml, and so on, so on. So therefore, asterisk hyphen items.xml. So one of the example is core hyphen items.xml, catalog hyphen item.xml, cms2 hyphen items.xml. Like that, we have bunch of XMLs. Okay, now please understand this. In this item.xml, we have the design or code. In this item.xml, we have the design or code. This code I need to convert into equivalent table. So look at here. So let's say here, let me go and see the product table code. So this is the product table code. Can you please pay attention? Can you please pay attention? So this is the product table design or code. This is the product table code or design. So that means in the item.xml file, we have the product table code or product table design. Now, do I need the design or do I need the table? Let's say I have a Oracle table or Oracle database. So this design I want to convert into equivalent table. So let's say here I want as a product table with a product code, with a product name, like that. So this design or code will be converted into equivalent table when you perform initialization or update. When you perform initialization or update. When you perform initialization or update. This is the first point you need to remember. So what I'm trying to say that after installation, we are going to get a tool called HAC. In the HAC, we have two options called initialization and update. Now we need to understand, because there is a certification question, there is a lots of knowledge behind here. That's why let's spend some time to understand what exactly the initialization, what exactly the update. So what I'm trying to say here is that after installation, this kind of ready to use site we are getting. After installation, we are getting this kind of ready to use site. Now the question is, we are able to see this result of the site because lots of tables are created behind. Now, did we create the code or design for those? Answer is no. SAP Commerce by default providing those tables code or design. When SAP Commerce is providing, now the question is, where can we see SAP Commerce provided tables design or code? The answer is *item.xml. *item.xml will have the database code or design. Now this is the code or design, but what I need the equivalent table in the database. Let's say I have a Oracle database. Now I have the product table there. If you come and perform initialization or update, this database design or code will be converted into equivalent table. This database design will be converted into equivalent table. This database design or code will be converted into equivalent table. That is the meaning of initialization and update. So in a simple word, initialization and update do what? Initialization update, what it will do? Creates the tables or create the tables. That's it. Create the tables and the columns. Create the tables, columns, then relations. That's it. So now we have two options here. To create the table, to create the columns, to create the relations, we have two options: initialization or update. Now what is our next question should be? What is our next question should be? So when can we use initialization? When can we use update? Or the question is, what exactly happens? What exactly happens during the initialization? What exactly happens during the update? So these are the questions. To understand that, I will take a small one picture, which is the excellent one, which will give lots of. So that's what I told you. You can see. So this is where we have the design or code. When you perform initialization or update, so tables get created. That's what I just now explained. Okay. Now we want to discuss the two questions: when to use initialization, when to use update, or what exactly happens during initialization, what exactly happens during the update. To understand that, what I will do is that, okay, let me tell you one point before I put the diagram. So let's say this is what your Kiran, can you please be on mute? Kiran, can you please be on mute? Thank you. So let's say this is what your hard disk. Can you please understand this? This is what your hard disk. Hard disk you are going to partition. Yes or no? Hard disk you are going to partition as a C colon, D colon, like that. Why we do partition? hard disk we will partition as C colon D colon like that. Why do we do that? Anyone? So let's say this is the hard disk. Hard disk you will be partitioned into C colon D colon E colon like that. Why do we do partition?
Separate the content.
Okay, so easy navigation. Okay, searching the content is easy, and so categorization. All the softwares you can put in the C colon, all the movies you can put in the D colon, all the study materials you can put in the E colon, and if you want to log them, you can do all these things. That's the biggest advantage. That's why we divide. Basically, hard disk is nothing but the space. Space you are partitioning into C colon, D colon, E colon. Then within the C colon, you have the folders. Let's say folder 1, folder 2 like that. Within the folder, what do we have? Files. So let's say file 1, file 2 like that. Within the file, what do we have? Data. Within the file, what do we have? Data. So this is how you have your hard disk. This is how you have your hard disk. That's it. So to understand the easiest way, what exactly the initialization, what exactly the update, what I am trying to do is that I am trying to compare with a hard disk. Hard disk is nothing but the space. Hard disk is nothing but the space. Now you have the space. The space is partitioned into C colon, D colon, E colon like that. Similarly, let's take the database. Similarly, let's take the database. Database also partitioned into. Database is partitioned into what here? Anyone? Let's say we have a Oracle database, MS SQL database, whatever it may be. Database is partitioned into what?
Tables.
Tables.
Schemas and
No.
tables.
Rows and columns.
Before rows and columns, there is one more thing.
Schema.
Schema. Very good. So therefore, database is partitioned into multiple schemas. So like here you have a C colon, here you have a schemas. So this is the simplest way to understand here. So here you have a schemas. Let's say this is the schema 1. Let's say this is the schema 2, and this is the schema 3. Now within the schema, you have the tables. Table 1, table 2 like that. Okay, so table 1, table 2 like that. So within the table, you have records. Record 1, record 2 like that. Within the record, what do you have? You have the data. Data, or you can also call it as columns, and so on, so on. So this is how your database is available. This is how your database is available. Okay. Now I just compared with the hard disk. Hard disk is nothing but the space divided into C colon, D colon, E colon. Similarly, you have a database. Database is divided into partitions like a schema 1, schema 2 like that. Within the schema, you have tables. Then you have the records, you have the data. Now you are coming to HAC and triggering the initialization. You are coming to HAC and triggering the initialization. What happens? Okay, when you do initialization, when we do the initialization, what happens? Let's understand. This is a nice knowledge here. Please try to understand as much as possible. So first thing is that it will check, is there a data in the schema? So first thing is that checks if any data. So data is two types: standard data and custom data. What is the meaning of standard data? What is the meaning of standard data? So let's say we have a languages, we have currencies, we have the site. These are all called standard data. So that means if you go to the website, I am able to see the website results because there is a language behind, there is a currency behind, there is a site behind. Okay, like that we have n number of things. These are all called standard data. So data is two types, standard data, and we also have custom data. What is the meaning of custom data? Let me give one example. We have a chroma.com. I go on to play the order. Is it coming? I go on to play the order. I go on to create a cart. Is it the standard data or custom data? Okay, I go to the
Custom
chroma.
data.
I go on to play the order. I go on to create a cart. I go on to create a product and all. These are all custom data. So therefore, data is two types: standard data, custom data. Custom data example is what? Cart table data, order table data, and so on, so on, so. User table data, and so on, so on, so. Okay. Now, when you do the initialization, so that means you go to HAC, and trigger the initialization. When you do the initialization, it checks if any data and it deletes the data. So data can be custom data, data can be standard data. Not a matter, it will delete. Data can be custom data, data can be standard data. Not a matter, it will delete. Next, second one is, so it checks if any tables. So if yes, it will delete those. So if you have any tables, it will delete those. Okay, next, then it will delete the schema also. Okay, delete the schema also, and so on, so on, so. After that, you need to pay attention, please. Fourth step. After that, so after deleting the schema, recreate the schema again. Recreate the schema again. Then fifth step is recreate the tables again. Recreate the tables again. Then sixth is recreates the data, but this data is only standard data. That means when you do the initialization, custom data will be lost. That's why initialization is the dangerous operation, which, okay, you cannot do in the production system if production system is already running. So that's why initialization generally we do first time, or initialization we do if we are feeling that your database is corrupted. The rest all the times you need to do the update. So what I'm trying to say that, can you please pay attention? Can you please pay attention? So I said recreate the data, but it's a standard data only. That means custom data will be lost. That means custom data will be lost. That's why we need to be very careful. We need to be very careful. We need to be very careful before to do the initialization. So that means before doing the initialization, make sure you have database copy. You have the database copy, else you lose the custom data. That's the problem. Else you will lose the custom data. That is the problem. So that's why, so when you do the initialization, it will recreate the data, but only standard data. Custom data will be lost. That means we need to be very careful. That's why we need to be very careful when we do the initialization. So before doing the initialization, make sure you have the database copy. Next. Okay, next is during the initialization. Let's say you go on to click on this initialization. During the initialization, it set up the license also. You remember yesterday we discussed this. So set up the license. Then during the initialization, if any background jobs are running, where can we see the background jobs here? Okay, so you can see the monitoring cron jobs. If any jobs are running, these all will be suspended. If any cron jobs are running, if any background jobs are running, all those are suspended. So background jobs. Okay, background jobs, cron jobs, all these are suspended. Next. During the initialization, can you please pay attention? Can you please pay attention? If you see here, after installation, we are getting this ready to use site, right? Now, if I click on this, these are all the products. Products will have the images, right? These are called media. This media also will be created during the initialization. So media is created during the initialization. Now you can ask a question. I said this media is created during the initialization. Where these are available? These are available. Can you see this one? Go to your software, go to Hybris, go to the data. Then there is a media here. Okay, in the media here. So here you can see all the media files, images. You can just open something. So this is one of the media. This is one of the media. Like this, you can see the medias. Like this, you can see the medias. Like this, you can see the medias. So therefore, what is the media's location? This is the media's location. Like this, it will perform n number of activities during the initialization. Like this, it will perform n number of activities during the initialization. So you can see that is what I have written here. Like this, it will perform n number of activities during the initialization. And one more point is, when you perform the initialization, it will clear the cache also. If any cache is there, it will clear the cache. Like this, it will perform n number of activities during the initialization. Like this, it will perform n number of activities during the initialization. Now let me ask one question. You need to answer it because I told everything here. Now let me ask one question. Certification, you can call it as a certification question, or you can call it as a knowledge question, whatever it is. Let me ask one question. Now the question is, what happens, or which of the following is correct? Which of the following is correct for initialization? Which of the following is correct for initialization? Now I am giving the options. Please remember this when you are writing the certificate. When you are writing the certificate, you can have multiple correct answers. You can have multiple correct answers. So the first one is recreate the standard data. Second one is recreate the. Second one is clear the cache. Third one is sorry. So let me write this way. Delete standard data and recreate standard data. Clear the cache. Create the media. Fourth one is delete database and recreate database. Fifth one is set the license. Sixth one is all above. Which is the correct answer?
All above.
All above. Very good. Soumit, Sanjay, Rupam, any, what is the answer? Santosh, Srikram, Swati, Sudhakar. Sudhakar is already answered. Vishnu Priya.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
1, 2, 3, 4. What happened to 5? Set the license. I already told the license will set, right?
Yeah, all the above.
What is the answer? You can speak. Him, Haima, Kanish.
All the above.
All the above.
All above. So please remember this here. That's what. So why I have put this diagram is, you need to, that much of simplest way I put this diagram. In this one answer is wrong here. Okay, let me ask a question.
The fourth one is wrong.
Recreating database that is wrong.
Clear the cache is wrong. Second option.
The cache is wrong. Why here?
Database one. Delete the database one.
Okay, you are sleeping, I think. Yeah. So now let's come back here. As I told, let's say you have a hard disk you are formatting the C colon. Is it impacting the D colon, E colon? Is it impacting the D colon, E colon? No.
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 Will not.
Statement here, delete the schema and recreate the schema, I said. But here the statement is delete the database, recreate the database. Database can have n number of schemas here. Database can have n number of schemas. So that's why fourth one is the wrong answer. Is that clear, everyone?
Yes, Chenna.
Yeah. Yes.
Very good, thank you. Okay, that's about this question. Now let's come back here. Okay, thank you. Now let's come back here. So this is what exactly happens during the initialization. That's why when you do the initialization, you need to be very careful. You need to make sure that you have taken the database copy. Now, this is what the meaning, or this is what behind what happens when we do the initialization. But we also have one more option called update, right? You can see there is an option called update. Then what happens when we do the update? For that, I will take one small diagram which already we created in the previous batches, so that we can cover quickly instead of spending too much of time in creating the diagram. You need to understand this one, please, quickly. You need to pay attention, listen this clearly. So let's say I already have a schema. Can you please see this one? The scenario is I already have a schema. I already have some tables. I already have some columns. I already have some sample data. I already have some custom data. And my manager is asking, or my company is asking me to create one more table, one more column. Then where do I do the changes? I do the changes in the core-item.xml or *items.xml. Okay, let me tell you the scenario again. What is the scenario? I already have a schema. I already have some tables. I already have some columns. I already have some sample data, some custom data. Now my company is asking me to create one more table, one more column, and I did the changes in the *items.xml. That means I coded here, or I have done the design here. Now this design needs to convert into equivalent table, equivalent column. For that we can do the initialization or update. Now I am doing the initialization. If I do the initialization, what happens? It will delete the custom data. It will delete the standard data. It will delete the columns. It will delete the tables. It will delete the schema in the step number 1. In the next step, recreate the schema, recreate the existing tables and the new table whatever we coded just now. Next, recreate the existing columns and the new column whatever we coded just now. Next, recreate the sample data or standard data. Custom data will be lost. That's why we need to be very careful. We need to be very careful whenever you are doing the initialization. Make sure you have the backup. Now, same scenario. Let's do with the initialization. I already have a schema. I already have a tables. I already have a columns. I already have the sample data. I already have a custom data. My company is asking me to create one more table, one more column, and I have done in the item.xml file. Now this change, that means I created a column, I created a table, which I need in the database. For that, I can perform the update also. If I do the update, what happens? Nothing will happen to your existing schema. Nothing will happen to your existing table. Nothing will happen to your existing columns. Nothing will happen to your existing sample data, existing custom data. Then what is update? Update will check, is there a newly added design or code? If yes, it will take and put in the database. If yes, it will take and put in the database. That's the update meaning. So that's why now the final question is what? When to do initialization, when to do update. When to do initialization, when to do update. First time go with the initialization. Okay, next time onwards go with the update. So that means next time you created some card table changes, you did some order table changes and all, then go with the update. First time go with the initialization, next time onwards go with the update. Now let's say you have system running, and suddenly you are feeling that your database is corrupted. So if your database is corrupted, then go with initialization, as you don't have any other option. These are only two scenarios where you can go with the initialization. Rest all the cases we will go with the update. So that is what everything is written here. That's all about the initialization and update. Now if you have any question, you can ask me. If you have any question, go ahead and ask on the initialization and update. The
This
next one,
conference will now be recorded.
the next one is you have initialization, you have update, right? Assume that this is a production system. This is one more certification question here. Assume that this is a production HAC. And multiple people can have the access to this, right? Multiple people can have access to this. Means this is a production HAC and multiple people can have access to this. Means what? So let's say Ankit can have access to this, and Chenna can have access to this, and RRS can have access to this. Now let's say Ankit has triggered the initialization. At 12:10 AM, which will take, let's say, 8 minutes to complete. Ankit is triggered the initialization at 12:10 and which will take 8 minutes to complete. Now, in between Chenna came, let's say at 12:14 AM and hitting the update. Will it happen or it will not happen? He's hitting the update again. Will it happen or will not happen?
We should not allow.
So the answer is it will not allow. Now the question is how these operations are controlled. When Ankit is doing, Chenna is not able to do. When Chenna is doing, RRS is not able to do. How this locking is happening is the question. Okay, how this locking is happening is the question. For that, SAP Commerce by default provides a table called system unit. So can you see this one, please? So I will go to the flexible search queries. Select star from system init. Execute it. Yeah, this is the table. Can you see this one? SAP Commerce is providing a table called system init. Can you understand this one, please? How this locking is happening? So there is a table called the system init. This is a table. In that there is a column, or in that there is a column called global, or there is something called global ID. If this value is 0, then allowed. If this value is 1, not allowed. So that means when Ankit hit the update, SAP Commerce will check in the system init what is the global ID value, 0. That means allowed for Ankit. Before allowing for Ankit, it will replace the value with 1. And continue the Ankit. Now Chenna is coming at 12:14, eating the update. Then it will check. SAP Commerce will check what is the global ID value. 1. 1 means not allowed. Now let's say Ankit operation is completed. Then it will replace the value with 0 again. Now Chenna is coming and hitting the update. SAP Commerce check in the system init. What is the global ID value? and the 0. So that means allowed. So before triggering the allow, it will replace the value with 1 so that other people will not allow. This is how the database locking happens when you perform the update, because update means what? Creating tables, creating columns, creating relation. So creating a table, creating a column, creating a relation means so multiple people cannot do at the same time. So that's why locking is required. So this is how SAP Commerce locking happens for the tables. So therefore the certification question was, okay, certification question was, they were asking what is the attribute name or column name. So the answer is global ID. That is what you need to remember. That's what it is explained here also. You can see that. Okay, next. Now come to HAC. There is one option called here caching. Let's understand the caching a little bit, because there is one certification question here again. So in the monitoring, there is something called caching. Let's understand the caching now. In the monitoring, there is something called caching. Let's understand the caching now. Before we understand the caching, just now I told, right? Can you please observe here? Just now I told we have the hard disk. Hard disk is divided into what? Hard disk is nothing but what? Space, right? Space. This is divided into set of the partitions called C colon, D colon, E colon, like that. C colon, D colon, E colon, like that. Then within the C colon, what do you have? You have the, okay, let's say softwares. So that means here you have some data in a simple word. So within the D colon, what you have the movies. So that means here also you have some data, and so on, so on. So similarly, caching is nothing but the space. Similarly, caching is nothing but the space. Similarly, caching is nothing but the space. So this space is divided into set of the regions. We call them as cache regions. So you can see there are so many cache regions. These are all the SAP Commerce OOTB cache regions. These are all SAP Commerce OOTB cache regions. So that means all the queries will be cached here. Okay, so let's say this is the query cache. So you can see all the queries are cached here. Next, let's say this is a media cache. Media means images, like that. Okay, media cache. All the queries are cached here. All the medias are cached here. Same way, there is a you can see back office user cache. Okay, CMS cache. Like that, we have so many caches. So here content will be cached. Here media will be cached. Sorry, and so on, so on. So
Is it in hard disk or RAM?
This conference will now be recorded.
okay, now we have the hard disk. Hard disk is divided into set of the partitions, C colon, D colon, E colon, like that. Similarly, we have the cache. Like we have a query cache, media cache, and all. So these are all the OOTB. That means SAP Commerce provided cache regions. Now for your project, if you want to create your own cache region, that is also possible. It's a medium customization. So let's say all the queries you are caching here, right? For your company, there is a pricing. Assume that this is the scenario here. Why we create a new cache region? Generally, in the companies, pricing will come from third party, and you want to use in the search pages, cart pages, some other pages, and you want to cache that price instead of getting every time from the SAP. Then you don't have that region, right? So you can create the cache region and put all the prices here, and so on, so on. But SAP Commerce by default providing bunch of the cache regions. That's what you will see here. And the SAP Commerce is giving the flexibility to create your own cache region. Example is what? That's what when you try to attend some interviews, right? People ask, hey, did you create any cache regions? People ask, did you create any cache regions? If you say yes, they will ask for what? You can tell pricing. So what happened in the real time, especially in the B2B projects here, especially in the B2B projects, can you understand this? Especially in the B2B projects, let's say you go to here, right? You are showing the price. Assume that this price you are getting from the SAP. After getting, then you will go to product detail. Here also you are seeing. Now, do I need to get from SAP or I can cache it? Do I need to get from SAP or I can cache it?
Can catch it.
Yes, we can cache it. Similarly, can you please understand one more point? So let's say I hit this and I got from SAP and it is cached. When Kiran hit this product, do I need to hit the SAP and get it, or do I need to hit the cache and get it?
Hit the cache.
Okay, get from the cache. So this is one of the best use case where you create the caching mechanism, custom caching mechanism we implement generally. And if you want that nodes, how to implement the custom caching, you can very well send email, I will provide it. But this is one of the use case where we use in the real time. You understand, right? So I'm repeating that scenario one more time. Let's say I go here, and so when I hit that product, we are getting the price. When I hit the product, we are getting the price. Assume that this price is coming from ERP system. ERP can be SAP, ERP can be PeopleSoft. Okay, good. Now, second scenario is what? Our second situation is what? I hit this, it is coming from ERP. Now, Kedar is hitting. Do I need to get from ERP or do I need to get from cache? Yes, it is good to get from cache. Now, I will add this item to cart. If I add the item to cart, let's say I am adding the item to cart. Look at here, please. Let's say I am adding item to cart. I'll go here. I'm adding the item to cart. Now you can see here also I am showing the price. Now, can I get from database or can I get from ERP system, or is it good to get from the cache? It is good to get from the cache. Like that, you can use the price cache regions or customized price caching in the real time. Especially this is useful in the B2B projects. Okay, now let's come back here. Like that, we have the custom cache regions and OOTB cache regions. You can create the custom cache regions and OOTB cache regions. Now let's say for C colon, are you allocating the space? For D colon, are you allocating the space? For E colon, are you allocating the space? Yes. Similarly, for every cache region, we will allocate the space. Let's say 500 MB. Okay, let's say 500 MB. Okay, let's say 500 MB like that. 500 MB, 500 MB, 500 MB, 500 MB, 400 MB, whatever it may be here, you can allocate it. And whenever you are allocating this space, right, there are some best practices. I already mentioned some in the notes. So you cannot just increase the space to 2 GB, 10 GB, 20 GB like that. Too much of space for the cache also decrease the performance. Okay, so you can specify 500 MB like that. Now here you will cache the, let's say here you are caching the, please pay attention, you are caching the media. So let's say this is the media 1, this is the media 2. Mr. Priya, please be on mute. Mr. Priya, I need to be on mute. Thank you. So let's say you have cached 3 objects and assume that the size of this one is, let's say 120. Size of this one is 120 and size of this one is, let's say 150, and the size of this one is, let's say 200. So that means how much of total space is used? Total space is used what? How much?
470.
470. 470 MB used. Now let's say after 2 minutes, there is one media coming. There is a new media coming. Let's say new media coming, which I want to cache it, which is of size, let's say 100 MB. Will this be cached or it will be ignored?
It will be cached.
Cached or will be ignored?
It will be cached.
Okay, it will be cached. So it will be cached, but you have only 30 MB space, right? How come it will be cached 100 MB?
I think the old one will be evicted.
Okay, so there we have a concept called eviction policy algorithms. Okay, eviction policy algorithms. So we have T types of eviction policy algorithms: FI, FO, first in, first out, LI, FO, first in, first out, least frequently used, LRU, LFU, LRU, LFU. So these are the three algorithms we have. So we need to specify this cache region should follow what kind of eviction policy algorithm. Let's say you have mentioned FIFO. If you mention FIFO, let's say assume that this is the first in object. This is the first in object, then this will be deleted and a new object will be stored. Okay, LRU means least recently used. So assume that this is the object least recently used. Then this will be deleted and it will put the new object. Then LFU means least frequently used. Assume that this is the object least frequently used, then this will be deleted and put the new object in that space. Like that, the space will be managed automatically by with the help of this eviction policy algorithms. With the help of eviction policy algorithms. So you need to remember that algorithm names, because that is what people may ask in the certification. So what kind of eviction policy algorithms we have? FIFO, LRU, LFU. Now the question is, one more question is, when, now you need to tell, when data will be removed from cache? Tell me, when data will be removed from cache? You can tell me now.
Depending on the algorithm.
Okay,
When it is
if cache is, first one is what? If cache is full. If cache is full, and if cache is full, then data will be removed based on what? Based on eviction policy algorithm. Based on eviction policy algorithm. Then second one. Okay, let's say you cached one object. Let me tell you in this way. Let's say you have cached one query. Let's say employee information. Let's say 101 Chenna and the salary is $10. This is what you cached it. Now assume that he got the promotion and his salary is increased to 20%. Then it will be $12. Then do you need this cached information? Original data is see, let's say this is the original data here. 101 Chenna. Okay, 101 Chenna 10. So this is the original cache or original database value, and this is modified to 12. Now do you need this cache results?
no.
No. So therefore, if object is modified, then also this will be cleared. Next, third one. Assume that object is no more available. If object is no more available, then also it will delete from the cache, and so on, so on. So this is how SAP Commerce cache is. Sorry.
This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so now let's come back here, please. So therefore, two important questions here. What are the eviction policy algorithms? When data will be removed from the cache? Data will be removed from the cache when cache is full based on the eviction policy algorithms. If object is modified, whatever cache object is modified, if that object is no more available, then also it will delete, and so on, so on. So then finally, okay, so this is the database. Now you answer. Okay, so this is the database. This is what my database, and this is what I said cache. Now tell me, cache will be in the database or in the primary memory? Now you
Primary.
answer the question. Cache will be in
Primary
the database or in the primary memory?
in the primary memory.
Yes, that's the answer. Okay, so that's all about the caching here. If you have any question on the caching, you can ask me. Else, we'll move on to the next topic or next discussion.
Chenna, you told like we can say the pricing is used for caching, right? Does it come under query content or?
This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, now let's come back here, please. As I said, right, for every cache, you have an algorithm, you have the size and all. Now, if you want to know what is the algorithm, what is the size and all configured, then you can go to the platform configurations. You can go to the platform configurations and you can search cache, CACHE. Now you can see these are all the different parameters enabled. You can see for API registry cache policy, LFU is configured and size is this much. And this like this. You have so many cache regions configured here. So you can see back office, this one. Okay, back office region cache, eviction policy algorithm is LFU, and size is this much, like that. And if you want to see those in the coding, you can take this property. You can take that property and search in the coding. Okay, so this is the one. So whatever you configured in the coding, so that is what coming in the SAP Commerce application. So this is how you can check what kind of algorithm is configured, what kind of sizes are configured, and what kind of attributes. Sometimes they are saying true, so that means eviction policy algorithm enabled true, false, cache enabled true or false, like that. Some attributes are there, you can see. So shared cache shared true, so that means cache can be shared. So if you make it as a false, then it cannot be shared. Main cache size, you can see it is almost, I think, 2 GB something. So like this, you have different algorithms and algorithms configured and attributes are configured, and equivalent coding you can see in the property files. That's it.
You know, there was one option for concurrency level. What does it mean?
Sorry?
Concurrency level, cache concurrency level 8. What it means?
Where is that?
Yeah.
Cache concurrency levels. I think it is caching in the level wise, level 1, level 2. It's like this. Okay, let me tell you, maybe you can understand this way. So let's say you have a C colon. Within the C colon, are you putting your data, or you create a folder 1? Within the folder 1, you create folder 2. Within the folder 2, you put the data, right? So that means it is a level 1, this is the level 2, level 3, level 4, like that. So that kind of levels it is allowing concurrency level. So 8 levels of cache it is allowing. But yeah, these are all internal here, so we cannot see much how it was managed. Yeah, that's all about the different options here. Let's move on to the next one. As I told, right, after installation, okay, after installation, we get 80% of the code ready. We get 80% of the code ready for us. After installation, we get 80% of the code ready for us. Now the question is how to see that code, or how to import that code into editor. So editor can be Eclipse. So you can use whatever editor you want here. Editor can be Eclipse, editor can be NetBeans, editor can be IntelliJ. So whatever editor you want, you can use it. But I use most of the times Eclipse. If you are comfortable with some other editor, you can use it, whatever it may be, not a matter. So what I'm trying to say that after installation, we get 80% of the code, around 80% of the code. Let me use the word called around. Again, you will say some more question. After installation, we get around 80% of the code. Now, how to see that code, how to import that code into Eclipse so that we can start understanding the code slowly. For that, what you can do is that first thing, how to see the code, you can go to the software, you can go to Hybris, you can go to the bin, Okay, you can see there is a modules and platform which has all the code, So therefore, in the bin folder, you have the modules, and in the bin folder you have the platform. These two will contain most of the code, OOTB code. These two contains most of the OOTB code. Okay, next point is, can you please pay attention? The next point is, after installation, this is the site we are getting. And one more point I told, in case of Java, in case of .NET, we create a project. Within the project, we create a file. Within the file, we do the coding. In case of SAP Commerce, what happened? In case of SAP Commerce, we create extension. Within the extension, we create the file. Within the file, we do the coding. Please understand this. So that means, in a simple word, in case of Java, .NET, you have the project. In case of SAP Commerce, what do we have? In case of SAP Commerce, what do we have? We have the extensions. In case of SAP Commerce, we have the extensions. Now, let me give a small comparison with the C language. Let's say I am writing a C program here to display my name. Okay, so let's say I am writing a.c program to display my name. A.c program to display my name. So let's say main, okay, printf ChennaReddyTraining, and I says get ch, and I will say clear CLR SCR. You remember C program? Okay, so I am writing a C program called a.c which display my name. Tell me, is this the individual program or it is depending on some other programs? Is it an individual program or it is depending on some other programs? Quickly, please. Is it an individual program or it depends upon something else?
An individual.
Okay, so this is not the individual program, it depends upon something else. See here, I am using printf. And the printf is defined in where? As include stdio.h. What is stdio.h? It is some other file. That means my program depends upon another program. Now you have the get ch clr scr. Get ch clr scr defined where? Your C language. conio.h. So that means one program can depend on one or more other programs. That is the conclusion. One program can depends on one or more other programs. And that dependency, how are we defining? Using as include. That is in case of C language. Now let's come to the Java. Let's say I am writing a.java program. Okay, in case of C language, you have main. In case of Java, it will be public class. You need to write every Java program will have a class, public class A. Let's say you give this as a capital A, public class A. Then here you have a main. In case of Java, public static void main, and you need to give the string args. Next, so I want to display my name. If you want to display your name, system dot, here you have the printf. In case of Java, system dot out dot println. Like this you will write it. And let's say you are using some math function here, math dot something, and you are using some util function, let's say equals function, some other function, all those things. Okay, or collection function, like that. So you are using some math functions, you are using some collection functions and all. Now, is it a standalone program or it depends upon something else? Is it a standalone program or it is depending on something else?
Depending on something else.
Okay, it is depending on math functions or math package, collection package and all. So therefore here you will say import. Here you have a hash include. Here we have the import for dependencies. Here you have import. Okay, so you will say java.lang.star import java.util.star, like that you write it. So that means one Java program, one program can depends on one or more other programs or packages. Programs or packages, not a matter here. So here we are using how are we defining the dependency here? Using import. Similarly, now let's come to our commerce conclusion. Similarly, in SAP Commerce, what do we have? In SAP Commerce, what do we have?
Extensions.
Extensions. Similarly, in SAP Commerce, we have extensions, and one extension can depends on, okay, depends on, okay, one or more other extensions. Okay, one extension can depends upon one or more other extensions. Now, what should be your question? So where can we see extensions dependency? Where can we see extension dependency? The answer is, okay, you can go to your software, you can go to the bin. I'm just showing some place here. You can just observe once. Okay, let's say I go to the facades. I go to the facades is the extension. Can you please see this? Facades is the extension. In that extension, there is a extensions import.xml. This is one of the certification question here. Extensions import.xml. You open that extensions import.xml. You open this extensions import.xml. So here you have requires extension. However, you have the hash include. So in case of C language, hash include. In case of Java, import. In case of SAP Commerce, what is the statement we have? Requires extension. Using requires extension, you can specify the dependencies. Now, can you see this one? Right now, I am in which extension? Y accelerator facade. Y accelerator facade depends upon what? I am in the Y accelerator facade. Y accelerator facade depends upon what?
Accelerator facades. And
Okay, accelerator facades, accelerator core and all. So this depends upon accelerator facades, accelerator core and all. Now if I go to the accelerator, Y accelerator core, if I go here and open the extensions import.xml, open the extensions, this depends upon something else. Like that we have the dependencies between the extensions. Like that we have the dependencies between the extensions. Now the question is it easy for you to find out all the dependencies and import the code into Eclipse?
No.
Now the question is it okay, is it easy for us to find all the dependent extensions and load into Eclipse? It's very difficult. It's very difficult. Then what to do? So we can use some plugin. We can use some plugin. We can use some plugin. Now let's see what to do. First step is install the Eclipse. You can install any version. I am typing here again. Don't send email saying that, oh, I am seeing different version here. Not a matter. You can install any version. So if you don't have it, you can just go to the Google and it is a free. You can say download Eclipse. You can download Eclipse from here. Any version is fine, not a matter, and install it. After installation, open the Eclipse. Then you can add the plugin, whatever I am saying. Add the plugin. So what is the purpose of this plugin? Tell me. Just now I told. What is the purpose of this plugin? So it will find the dependent extensions and load it. So therefore, you can go to the help. You can go to the marketplace. You can go to the help. You can go to the marketplace. Everything is there in the notes here. Step by step is there in the notes. See, whatever I covered, everything is there in the notes. Okay. Now type Hybris. Type Hybris. Now see the first one. SAP Hybris Commerce Development Tool. I already installed. That's why it is showing installed. For you, it will show like a install. You can install it. You can install it. After installation, then import the code. After installation, then step number 3 is import the code. So how do I import the code? You can right click here, import. Can you see this one, please? Right click here, import, import. Then import SAP platform is there. Select that. Now go to your software. So let's say this is what your software. Go to Hybris, go to bin, go to the platform, and finish it. Now you can see it is deleting all the previous one and inputting everything from scratch. It will take lots of time here. It will take around 3 minutes, but you need to observe one thing. Let me show you that first, then we can. So it is, see, I have some other code here, it is deleting. I have some other code, it is deleting because that's for a different purpose. Once it is deleting, then it will import everything. Let me show you when it is importing. See, it's deleted. Now it is importing the current project structure, extensions, dependent extensions. Okay, now can you see this one? See, it is started importing. Now, if you observe one thing here, you see lots of the reds here. Yes or no? Can you able to see the reds? Lots of the reds here. Yes or no?
Yes, Chenna.
These reds are not errors. Don't worry about those. These reds are not errors. These reds are because dependent extensions are not loaded yet. Because dependent extensions are not loaded. Once those are loaded, this will be gone. Okay, don't worry about, okay, so when you work in Java project, .NET project, so whenever we see like this, we will feel that, oh, these are the errors. These are not errors. These are the reds because dependent extensions are not loaded. Now you can see it is loading the dependent extensions. After 2 minutes, you will see everything will come green. So right now reds are there. Slowly reds will gone because it is trying to load. Assume that for this there is a dependent extension. This one, it is loading. This is having some other dependency. It is loading. It is loading. It will take around 3 minutes to load it. After everything, then you will see all are in the green, no reds. This is the excellent advantage with that plugin. Now let me show you the notes for this. So scenario is Eclipse, as I told you. So if you don't have the Eclipse, you can go and download from here. Any latest version you can download. When you download, when you installing, please make sure you select Java EE developer version. Don't install the basic flavor version. So after installation, this kind of icon you can see and open that. Then as I told you, so we have so many extensions. Extensions will have the dependencies. So it's very difficult to find out the dependencies. It's very difficult to find out the dependencies. Then what to do, or where can we see the dependencies? The answer is extensions import.xml. And what is the statement we write for the dependencies? What is the statement we write for the dependencies? Requires extensions. So this is the one which is asked for me in the certification. So using requires extension will specify the dependent extension dependencies. Okay, then I told that C language example. In case of C language, we have hash include. In case of Java, import. In case of SAP Commerce, requires extension, and so on, so on. So now how to add the plugin? I told you to add the plugin. After adding the plugin, then one more point is after adding the plugin, you can see there is a build automatically. You can turn off that here. there is a build automatically, you can turn off that. If you build automatically is there, your Eclipse mostly will stuck. That's why turn off the build automatic. Okay, disable build automatic. After that, you can write RMB. RMB means right mouse button, then import, then select this, then select the location. After selecting location, you can click on finish. Now you can see all are coming green at the end. Now let's go to our Eclipse and see. Still it is loading here. Is it completed? No, it's not completed. You can see 97%. Okay, it's done. Okay, it is showing the reds because maybe I need to reload the Eclipse again, but definitely you will see here this kind of greens. As I mentioned, even though you see the reds, don't worry. Okay, you are all good because these are all just dependent extensions. Sometimes Eclipse does not recognize properly. If it is not recognizing properly, then because it's a heavy, right? You can see almost how many extensions are there? 282 extensions are there. And if that sequence is not followed correctly, then only you will see this kind of things, but there is no error. So this is how you can import all the SAP Commerce code into Eclipse. Now we will start opening some files randomly based on the scenarios going forward. That's all for today. We'll continue tomorrow rest of the things. If you have any questions, go ahead and ask. If you want to listen to others questions, you can wait. Else you can continue your regular activities.